everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, March 22nd, 2020. We need to start out on a positive note here. We need some sunshine here. Man, I am desperate for a ray of light. Did anybody even have sex this week that we could talk about right off the jump? I don't think so. Why couldn't Phyllis and Nick have run off to the broom closet to have love you, hate you sex after they had that little spat right in front of Summer and Kyle? That's the kind of level of positivity I'm looking for. Oh, well, as much as I would love to jump right in to our fictional drama, I feel that it would be disingenuous of me to not even acknowledge the real life drama. Y&R was preempted for me 4 out of the 5 days this week due to the COVID-19 crisis coverage. And I was at CBS.com trying to stream the episodes. Their player is slow and glitchy, and the quality is really, really poor. So I have to be honest with you. I had some trouble watching the episodes this week. I had some trouble focusing on the episodes this week with so much else that's going on. Big news. Earlier in the week, both Y&R and The Bold and the Beautiful announced that they are halting production on the shows for at least 2 weeks. And I think it's probably a safe bet to assume that it's probably going to be closer to maybe 6 to 8 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. I'm sure that that was a really tough decision for the network to make, but it's probably a good decision. Some people would consider soaps to be a non-essential service. I said some people. Oh, of course, I'm only kidding. Obviously, we want to prioritize everyone's health and well-being. So the daytime Emmy ceremony was also canceled. I believe that they're still working out a way to honor the nominees and the winners, even though they're not able to have the public gathering. Now, since Y&R films a month in advance, then that means that right now at this moment, we still have about a month worth of episodes that can be aired. So this brings me to my poll question for you for the week. And I think this is going to make for some interesting conversation throughout the week, especially since I don't know if we're going to be getting any new episodes. My question for you is, do you think that Y&R should air the new episodes during the COVID-19 crisis? Now, so if there's a month in the can, and we may only have a month worth of episodes to get, do you want them now, or do you want them later? Do you think it's a good escape for the fans to just keep watching and keep as much normalcy as possible over the next month? Maybe let Y&R be that pressure releaser? Or do you think that we need to collectively just press the pause button, take some time to get our lives together, and pick back up on Y&R when the crisis has calmed down? yrchat.com. That is our poll question for this week. Now, do me a favor, though. Do not put me in the position of having to moderate a political argument on this topic. That's not what the poll question is about. I have always made a conscious effort to keep Y&R Chat about Y&R, but I also don't know how much longer we're going to have Y&R in the immediate future, and I do feel that the disruption of our show is relevant to the conversation right now. And also, as the years have gone on, Y&R Chat has become about, for me anyway, so much more than just the show. It's also become about the Y&R chatters who contribute to it. So I really do want to know if new episodes are what you need and what you want right now. And I also want to know how you are doing as a member of this community that's very important to me. Everyone's affected by this, some more than others, and I would really love it if as many of you as possible could go to the website this week and check in with us and let us know how you're doing. And I want to say that if you are in need of a good Y&R related distraction, please remember that there are nearly 12 years worth of Y&R Chat episodes on YouTube. There are 10 years worth of podcasts on Apple iTunes. So, if this week or any time in the future, Y&R does not provide new or even rebroadcast episodes wherever you are, Y&R Chats dating back to the year 2008 are available to you 100% free of charge. Lastly, I want to say this. Nikki told Sharon last week, "I'm tougher than cancer, and so are you." That applies here too. We are all going to be back to laughing and loving and complaining about Y&R surely by the end of the year. And I want you all to know that I am committed to keeping Y&R Chat the place where you can go to have this fun, friendly, positive fan community, whether or not we have new stories to even talk about. Whether or not Y&R airs or not, I promise that I intend to check in with you every Sunday. I can't promise that I'll be able to come up with an hour and a half of chat out of thin air. I might only have 5 to 10 minutes worth of chat, but I promise I will do everything in my power to check in with you. So don't worry about me. I will be busy worrying about you. Oh, you know who I blame for all of this? Kyle. I theorize that Kyle was probably off visiting one of Jabot's testing labs, and that doofus probably stumbled, tripped over a chair, and shattered some mysterious vials that set all of these butterfly wings to an effect. Doesn't that just figure, you guys? I'm telling you. It was freaking Kyle! At Jabot, Jack announces this week that he is taking a step back from his CEO duties. And then at home, the Abbotts decide that it's time to bring Dina back to the mansion where she can live out her final days surrounded by love and family. I love the notion, but I'm terrified of feeling this story. I mean, we've been warned officially. We are going to be losing Dina. It is going to be front and center in our faces. We are not going to be getting some kind of quiet off-screen death. It is going to be heart-wrenching. And honestly, of all of the stories that will suffer from the public health crisis that we're finding ourselves in right now, I think it will be this one. I cannot even think of a more untimely story to be taking us into the weeks and months to come. I really don't know what to think about Theo at the moment. I love him to pieces, but I think that he is up to something. He seems now to be building some kind of anti-Kyle coalition with other anti-Kyle ralliers at Abbotts. He was schmoozing up some random employee that Kyle had expressed his displeasure with. I mean, of all the rookie mistakes to make, you went skiing after calling in sick and posted all the photos on Faceplace. Well, with Jack out at Abbotts now indefinitely, Theo is poised to make a move that will undermine Kyle's brand new authority as the sole functioning CEO. And before he left, Jack did have a talk with Theo, just, prior to his announcement even. And I think Jack was right to do that. I think Jack was right to ask Theo what is up with his attitude towards Kyle. What is up with his treatment of Kyle? I don't think it was unfair at all. Jack has had many, many talks with Kyle about the same topic too. And for the most part, Kyle has been kind of trying to get along. I sense more animosity maybe even from Theo than I do from Kyle. Kyle seems to have gotten what he's wanted out of all of this. He's happy with Summer. He and Summer are crushing it day to day at Abbotts. And that's what seems to really drive Theo crazy. Theo is jealous of Kyle when Kyle's with Lola. Theo is jealous of Kyle when Kyle is with Summer. And I keep wondering, is there anything that Kyle could do at this point that Theo would not be critical of? So I liked how Jack narrowed Theo down into admitting that, frankly, he just doesn't respect Kyle. Theo thinks that Kyle has had everything in life handed to him since day one. And, to an extent, that's a fair argument. But that attitude is exactly how Victor always viewed Jack. That was always the crux of that rivalry between Victor and Jack. That Victor had to work for everything that he had, while Jack was just, handed it. So I think that Jack is actually in a pretty good position here to give some perspective to both of these guys, and especially to Theo. I mean, you can't exactly blame Kyle for not having your life, your hardships. But you certainly can go and flirt it up with Kyle's soon-to-be ex-wife. Theo goes from that conversation with Jack directly to Lola's kitchen, where they again talk about this first date that I'm kind of just getting ready to see. Just kind of want to see that already instead of, talking about it all the time. But the way that Theo walked out of that kitchen, walked out of that restaurant, seeming like he was so happy with himself. He was smiling so big, looking like he was walking on air. I am left wondering, was that little smile that Theo gave meant to be sweet or suspicious? What is it that Theo wants? Or maybe he wants it all. But what does Theo want more? To win Lola's heart because he's actually falling in love with her? Or to win this war that he's waging against Kyle? I have been waiting for Mariah's grand gesture to Tessa, but I gotta admit, that was not the grand gesture that I would have wanted to receive. Mariah needed to apologize, and she needed to fight for her relationship, but I don't know if she needed to ambush Tessa on stage in front of a crowd of people. Especially not after Tessa was quite clear with her that the relationship was over. I think that I would be ticked off if I was Tessa. On top of everything else, being put on the spot like that in front of people and while I was in the middle of doing my job, it just did not speak to me. Putting myself in Tessa's shoes, that would not have flown with me. Because early in the week, Mariah shows up on the private jet just as Tanner and Tessa are getting ready to sail off into the sky. And Mariah tries to make one final plea to save her relationship. That's what she should have done. But it was all too little, too late. Mariah explained to Tessa the circumstances that led to her starting to feel isolated and insecure. Mariah talked about her job loss, talked about Sharon's cancer, even talked about her paranoia regarding Tanner. All of that was very much needed. I think Mariah owed that to the relationship, to be honest and open with Tessa, and also to ask for Tessa's forgiveness. Mariah owed it to herself to ask for Tessa's forgiveness. She begged for it. In fact, she begged for a second chance to go back to the way that things were. She told Tessa that she's the love of her life and always will be. But Tessa has a right to reject her. And Tessa laid down her position in one perfect sentence. This was over the moment that you betrayed me. That's fair. In any reality, Tessa is totally justified. Because once someone shows you that they are capable of betraying you once, you can be sure they are capable of doing it again and again. People like that do not deserve a VIP backstage pass into your life. But in this world of drama and soap reality, that is non-reality, well, I have to admit, Mariah has forgiven Tessa for some pretty awful stuff. Tessa has received at least 2, maybe 3 second chances from Mariah. So why can't Mariah get just 1 second chance? And why didn't Mariah even bring that up? Why didn't Mariah say, hey, remember when you stole my diary and plagiarized its contents? Or, hey, remember when you tried to blackmail my mom? Or, remember when you admitted that you were only with my brother to get at his money, and then there were all of the mixed signals that you were sending me of attraction? No, Mariah didn't mention any of that. I'm not saying that Mariah should have thrown it back in Tessa's face. I am glad that Mariah took 100% responsibility for her actions as opposed to lying about it, which she already tried to do. But I just think maybe it would have been appropriate for Mariah to slip in a gentle reminder that she was able to forgive Tessa. She was able to bring herself to give Tessa some forgiveness, so maybe it's not completely out of question for Tessa to give Mariah some forgiveness in return. I see both sides. Mariah crumbles. That is what she's been doing since the beginning of this. She is so broken that she crumbles. She leaves the private jet feeling completely defeated. She goes home. She tells Sharon that she's not even going to take this job offer that she's been potentially hooked up with through Devon in Chicago that could be great for her career. Sharon tells her to take the job. But I think we all know that Mariah is not going to leave Genoa City. She's going to take a job with the Chancellor Media division. So I don't know what that says about the long or short term of Mariah's romantic relationships. But I was really turned off by Mariah as the week went on. She was lashing out at Summer and Kyle when she saw them out for coffee. I mean, her attitude was really surprisingly immature. I suppose that Mariah was feeling that she is just a toxic force in her own life, and so therefore she must self-fulfill the prophecy and be toxic to everyone else. She said it herself, she is her own worst enemy, and yet it was rough to watch her lashing out at two people who, she doesn't have a great, relationship with Summer, but they were trying to comfort her. Well, lo and behold, then after that, Mariah gets a phone call from Tanner. And Tanner, he sees the love that Mariah and Tessa have for each other, although, sideline, that's a separate thing. Love is a separate thing from betrayal and trust and all that. Love and trust are different. You can love someone and not trust them. You can love someone and not like them, for crying out loud. But Tanner wants to be the one to fix this, I suppose. And he also probably feels guilty that he and his tour have played a part in their troubles and their breakup. So Tanner invites Mariah onto the next show. And Tanner is the one who sets up this embarrassing on-stage ambush that was so well-intentioned but so inappropriate and so risky. All of the pins were in place to create this heartbreaking failure that happened. Mariah walks out onto the stage with a microphone, presumably is standing there in front of a stadium of people. And Mariah proceeds to attest publicly to Tessa how sorry she is for hurting her and how foolish she was to not trust her and how much she would like to make things right. And all of these are genuine sentiments. I have no doubt that Mariah's heart was in it 100%. I have no doubt that Tessa heard every word that Mariah said. But these were all sentiments that were discussed on the plane. Saying these things over again in a public place offered nothing new. I would be so mad. It was so hard to watch. It was akin to when you see someone at a basketball game or some type of sports event, and then up on the Jumbotron, somebody's proposing to their mate, and you're watching it, and you can just kind of see in the mate's reaction that the answer is no. It was publicly humiliating for both Mariah and Tessa. Tessa ran off stage in tears, left Mariah standing there alone, rejected in front of 1,000,000 people. I bet that's going to feel real good when that moment is captured on video and then blasted out to everyone's social media who was at that concert. Probably had their phones already on. That's going to be great for both Mariah and Tessa's careers. Why did Mariah go along with Tanner's plan to set up this disaster? After Tessa had already made her position clear. I am a big fan of the grand gesture, but the grand gesture is only grand if you're 100% sure that it's gonna work. Last Friday's cliffhanger of the century revealed. Turns out, Faith, little angelic Faith, has been skipping school and then getting a little smart mouth when asked about it by the school. Can you believe that? I totally can. I could almost see Faith rolling her eyes at the principal and then sneaking out the back of the lunchroom, lighting a cigarette on her way out the door. I'm ready for that storyline to start happening. Rebel Faith. You know, I think it doesn't bother me that Nick asked Ray to talk with Faith because I was so impressed with Ray's approach. He let her get real cozy on her teacher's planning day off. She was having breakfast in her PJs. She was, she was just doing her own thing, relaxing. And then Ray brought down the hammer saying, "We're going to have a talk, young lady." Nobody ever does that on soaps. Ray actually dragged Faith down to society, let her think she was going to have a lunch or at least a nice fabulous brunch or something, and then Ray made her take a hard right turn into the kitchen where Lola made her scrub dishes and make bread. I'm loving this firm approach. Soap kids are such brats. It's about time someone stopped coddling them and started laying down some strict parenting. From now on, I say no more boarding school. Make it military school. Oh. I do feel for Faith, and actually it was in the kitchen with Lola that Faith opened up a little bit, and she talked about how she wished that she hadn't chosen to leave boarding school. She wanted to come back to Genoa City to be with her mother, but she was thriving in her fancy Swiss school, and now she's stuck out here in Wisconsin, and it's just not giving her what she needs in order to flourish. It's just not the same. So, Sharon hasn't really gotten involved in this situation much yet. Ray filled her in, but she kind of allowed him to take the reins on this. I wonder if we are going to see Sharon step in soon and have a conversation with her daughter and maybe encourage Faith to return to boarding school the way she encouraged Mariah to take that job offer in Chicago this week, and the way that she encouraged Noah to hop a flight back to London to get back to his career. I think it's lovely that Nikki has arranged a few play dates for her daughter while she is homesick from school. Sharon whipped up a lemon cake after her chemo treatment and skipped on down to the main house to see Victoria this week. a good conversation. Sharon was listening to Victoria, but Sharon also told Victoria about her cancer for the first time. I think that everyone's problems instantly get put into a different perspective when learning that someone you know is dealing with something like that. And sometimes it is helpful to have that stark realization that someone else has it worse. No matter what you're going through, someone else has it worse. Later in the week, Sharon also paid a second visit to the main house to see Victoria and to deliver her a goodie bag of bath and body supplies. You know, I loved that. Body lotion, hand cream, bubble bath, probably some soap, all of my favorite things. What a lovely gift. But, you know, I think the bigger gift is just having someone a little bit on the outside of your circle to talk to. Victoria is at a loss for what to do right now. She is basically recovering from a physical trauma while dealing with the psychological trauma. And frankly, I think she's depressed. She's dealing with depression. Who would not be depressed after going through what Victoria has been through, not just recently, but in the past couple of years. I think Victoria does not know what to do with herself. She made a half-hearted attempt to push around a few papers at Newman Enterprises, but then she quickly realized that that was not what she wanted or needed, and she asked Nick to just continue on at Newman in her absence, keep feuding with Adam, keep running the company. We know what it's all really about. We know what Victoria's little break is really about. It is about Nick and Victor versus Adam. But what about Victoria? What about her? She nicely told Nikki to back off a little bit. She doesn't need her mom ninnying around behind her. And Victoria also told Sharon that she'd like to continue their meetings. I do love that idea. I love seeing Sharon just chatting and being casual with anybody. But I like the dynamic that's going on with Victoria and Sharon right now. But I also do wonder how long Y&R is going to let Victoria remain stagnant. If she is not going to be embroiled in the coming war at Newman Enterprises, then she is going to need something fresh and new to bring her back to life. And I don't think that that's necessarily a relationship. I don't think she should have gotten involved with Billy as fast as she did after what she went through with JT. So I am thinking maybe it would be cool to see Victoria getting back in touch with her artistic side. Do you guys remember how she was a painter for a while? Chloe officially handed Phyllis her resignation from the Grand Phoenix Hotel, declaring also that the Grand Phoenix will be a whole lot more grand without her and Chelsea. I don't know about that. Considering we only saw either of them at that hotel a handful of times. Oh, but now they will both have lots of time to focus on building back up their fashion house. Unless Chelsea decides to change her mind and just move to Kansas permanently. She could embrace #farm life. Chelsea was marveling at how Adam was amazing on the farm. She was telling Chloe all about it. Adam was taking Connor around the farm, collecting eggs. I want you to know that I would pay cash money right now to see a scene where Adam Newman is soothing hens and collecting eggs. I want to see it. I would also like to start a campaign to bring Adam's childhood friend Alyssa onto the show full time. That actress showed more personality in her one scene than like a third of the rest of the cast. I just loved her. Her curly hair, her spunkiness. She's a doll. The actress's name was Mariah Di Domenico. Let's sign her. Let's get her a contract. Let's get rid of Lindsay and bring her on full time as an eventual match for Mariah. Or is that too much hair for one couple? I don't know. That could be a problem. I don't know, at this point I feel okay with maybe just bumping Chelsea out of the way and reuniting kindergarten sweethearts Alyssa and Vic. I want a shirt maybe that says that. I hope she at least gets to come back one more time. She is a crime reporter with an inquisitive mind and a crime to solve soon enough. We're going to need someone like that. We need a full-time crime reporter. And her story could easily connect in long-term with Adam's. I love it. Adam bumps into Alyssa in Kansas while he's taking a job. He brings her back to the bed and breakfast to meet Chelsea. They chat about the old days, Cliff, Hope, and her father, who apparently was a loan shark who went to prison for a few years. And then he got out of prison and almost immediately had a mysterious falling off the top of a barn loft accident. You have got to watch out for those barn accidents when you are out there in Kansas. So, that is happening. Alyssa apparently also has some great memory because although the details surrounding her father and her father's death are unknown to her, Alyssa does happen to remember that Hope didn't attend the funeral, although she did send a delicious peach pie. Now, I would like to stack up Hope's peach pie against Sharon's lemon cake and see who gets the blue ribbon. Well, Alyssa's impeccable memory sparks Adam's impeccable memory. And Adam happens to remember how Victor happened to be in town when Alyssa's dad died. Victor was in town eating Hope's peach pie. Look, if Victor was in town after he and Hope divorced, guaranteed that was a booty call. Just saying. Remember that, Adam. Remember that part. Victor was just breezing into town to hit it, and then he was back on his way. Oh, okay, so here we are. Obvious theory. Same thing practically everyone is saying. Alyssa's dad must have been harassing or threatening or taking advantage of Hope in some way, who, by the way, was nobody's fool. Hope was nobody's fool, and Y&R had better not even think about rewriting her otherwise. But Hope must have somehow been in harm's way. You can fill in the blanks on how. Of this loan shark guy. And whatever. Victor found out about it, took care of him. Mystery solved. Big deal. Victor was protecting his family, which includes Adam. I mean, if that's the trajectory that we're on here, then meh. I hope there's a twist or something more or better in there. Adam seems to think that this situation is somehow going to give him leverage over Victor. Like he's going to blackmail Victor with some quarter-century-old murder. Adam stopped by the ranch this week to let Victor know that the farm is in a state of disrepair and needs some funding. But also Adam made sure to compliment Nick on his CEO skills while he was there. Now, truly, Nick continues to impress even me with his CEO skills. He literally took a phone call this week and he walked into a scene saying, yeah, that last thing, put it in a memo. And then he hung up the phone. That's some good work, Nick. That last thing we talked about, put it in a memo. Boom, CEO, boss. I think Adam complimenting Nick was the biggest red flag to everyone that Adam is up to something. I just don't know if I care what. Adam dropped the name Montalvo onto Victor just to get Victor's reaction. He'll probably start spooking around the ranch at night saying Montalvo, and then Victor will hear that on the wind and, well, I don't know, fall down the stairs and miscarry. But Victor didn't bite. He did not bite on the Montalvo thing. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Victor readily remembers killing the guy, admits it because he doesn't care, and then just walks off to make some lunch. Chance meets with Jill this week to give her some more bad news about Colin. Apparently, Colin was using Chancellor Industries to launder Devon's billions before returning those billions to Devon. Thanks. Thanks for that compelling epilogue that nobody needed or asked for. Riveting. So what you're saying to me right now, Y&R, is that Colin found a way to sell Chancellor Industries out from under Jill, and now Kane will be returning as the one running it. Don't get too used to sitting in that big, comfy chair, Lily, because I know what's about to happen and who's about to be sitting there full time. I know where this is going. I see it. I see the vision fully. Jill was able to negotiate with Nick to let Billy and Lily rent the old Dark Horse office space. And by the way, Jill gave Nick some relationship advice that hit a little too close to home. She was talking about her regrets when it came to getting back involved with Colin, and she was advising him to whatever he does, do not get back into a relationship with your ex. There is usually a perfectly good reason why you broke up in the first place. And that advice seemed to hit home with Nick. I don't know if he's going to heed it. I don't even know if Jill would heed that advice if she had to do it all over again. When hot sex is on the line, it can mess with your brain. I think we all know that's probably what the greatest appeal of Colin for Jill was. He frosted her cookies. He was the one that just really turned her on, and that's why she put up with all of his everything for all of those years. I am just a little confused here, though, about the whole Dark Horse situation. Didn't Adam say just a few weeks ago that he was planning to get Dark Horse back up and running? This was just before Victoria's stabbing and before Adam offered to step in at Newman Enterprises. He was talking to Chelsea about heading up Dark Horse again. So, I mean, I guess maybe Nick owned the office space, but Adam owns the company? Is that it? I don't know, maybe none of it matters, because the old Dark Horse building is now the new headquarters for the Chancellor Media division. Billy and Lily flipped a coin to find out who would get the big office. I thought that was cute. Lily won the coin toss, which means that she gets Nick's old office, which I guess means that Billy is going to be working from that ugly orange conference room next door. I hope not. Let's hope not. Billy and Lily are getting along a little too well. They have these opposite personalities, and so far they've found a way to find a balance. They're balancing it. But what that tells me is that there's about to be a shakeup. Billy and Lily would not be getting their very own offices if we weren't about to see some drama here. And there's not a whole lot of drama with just 2 employees. Mark my words. Kane is going to show up one of these days soon, and he is going to announce himself as the big, bad, brand new boss to oversee Lily and Billy's new venture. And then Chance will come running along behind to provide us, the audience, with the exposition and explanation of it all. Since Chance has just run off on another mission, this time bringing Abby with him to find out more of the details of Colin's money laundering. Lily and Billy have both established this week how much they want this opportunity. It's a lifeline to both of them. Billy has nowhere else to turn, and Lily, especially after speaking with Devon, wants to give herself a challenge that she can be proud of, and that Neil would be proud of, and that can actually help people in the process. Billy and Lily are both in this for the long haul. So when Kane does finally show back up, they're going to stay and fight. Don't forget, Billy and Kane have a history of fighting. Remember how Billy was the one who found Kane and Victoria kissing, and then Billy ran to Lily while she was in prison and tattled on Kane. Immediately after that, Lily filed for divorce. So Kane blames Billy in part for the end of his marriage. I think it's a very real possibility that this is where they're going. And let me float one additional theory out there for you here. It's a long shot, but hear me out. Is there any chance that Kane is the one who gave that hotel receipt to Victor's private eye, making it look like Billy and Amanda were having an affair? Maybe because, is there any chance that Kane wanted to ruin Billy and Victoria's relationship the way that he thought Billy ruined his relationship with Lily? Well, luckily for you, I've had a brilliant idea. And that idea is the way that this all ties back in to Kane's return. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. That was actually last week's Who Said It quote. Luckily for you, I've had a brilliant idea. And it was Jill who said it. She was talking to Jack about her plan to bring Billy back into the fold at Chancellor Industries. I just thought it was a cute and funny little moment, and I made a mental note to myself to make sure to use that again, which I have now done. Congratulations, Henry, Sam, Mark, Keisha, Nancy, Victoria, Martha, and Diana. You guys all heard that wonderful, beautiful little line come out of Jill's mouth. How about this one? I can handle 2 things at once, and on a good day, I can even handle 3. I think that speaks to all of our abilities to multitask. I'll give you the quote again. I can handle 2 things at once, and on a good day, I can even handle 3. Who said it? If you think that you know, go to yrchat.com to leave your guess. And if you get it right, I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. We still have comments and a poll question to get to. Last week I asked you guys if you wanted to see more or less of Lily. The majority of you, 63%, were happy that Lily is back and wanted to see more of her. 37% said less. I didn't see any comments about why, but sometimes, it just boils down to, this character just doesn't speak to me. I'm surprised it was that strong. 37%, not really feeling Lily. I don't see anything, that sticks out to me as dislikable about her, but again, I think, we all have our characters that we're drawn to or not drawn to. Victoria says, yes, I am happy Lily is back. I'm glad they're giving Lily a new purpose and still having her speak about her support of services for former persons incarcerated. I like Lily's down to business tone and won't take any BS toward Billy. Also, Lily brings a chic sense of fashion to Y&R. Hats off to her return. Yeah, I like that Lily is very blunt with Billy, and she doesn't let him get away with anything. I think he does need that. Maybe that's another reason why I am hoping that it doesn't turn romantic, because I think someone who is a little somewhat neutral in his life and is not going to coddle him at all is needed. Also, I have to agree, I do like Lily's fashion sense, although they've been making her hair a little large since she's returned. I kind of wish we could bring back a couple squirts of the hairspray, but bring the hair down an inch, just 1 inch. Diana says, I can't say that I'm not disappointed that we're not going to be seeing the inside of Chancellor Industries. I knew it was too good to be true. I guess Y&R already had the Dark Horse set ready, so they decided to use that office set for Billy and Lily to work their magic. I'm disappointed too, Diana. It's definitely set recycling. They just said, this is the one we got. Why not? I mean, are we supposed to believe that the Dark Horse offices were just sitting empty for all of this time? No one had rented it out? Okay. The other thing is, we were talking last week about wanting something new for this Chancellor Media, and I don't know, does the whole Dark Horse style vibe match where Lily and Billy are going? I kind of liked their idea of being closer to the university. That sounds like I would maybe like something a little more fun and hip. Maybe something closer to the Restless Style building. Oh, that would have been perfect. What if Billy came up with the idea to buy back the old Restless Style building? Maybe that was a little rustic. It also became Chelsea and Chloe's headquarters for Chelsea 2.0 at a point. So I guess it's possible we could get, who knows, they could recycle that set and we could get Chloe and Chelsea back to the Restless Style building. Ooh, I like that idea. Oh, well, hey, let's talk about Tessa and Mariah, because Daisy has an interesting perspective here, saying, I think it took a lot of courage for Mariah to make a public apology to Tessa. I was hoping that Tessa would forgive Mariah, which would not happen overnight, but they could have a new beginning in that direction. Although there are some things that can't be overlooked in the past, and cheating is high on that list, I guess at this point Tessa could make a case for staying together or breaking up. Hopefully, though, we'll know by the end of the week. I think you're right in that it could have gone either way. In fact, Sherrod says, for me, that it seemed like Tessa was softening to Mariah when she heard about the loss of her job. She even said to Mariah, I'm your partner, not I was your partner. And even more so when Mariah told her about Sharon's cancer. But sadly, she shut down when Mariah admitted that she shared all of that with Lindsay and not her. At this point, I think for Tessa, it became not only a physical betrayal, but an emotional one as well. Double whammy. From the audience's perspective, we didn't really see Mariah having this vast emotional affair with Lindsay. I think they, to really drive home Mariah's betrayal, they could have probably stretched that out a couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, I I think you're hitting on something that Tessa seemed moved, like she maybe could have gone in the direction of forgiving Mariah, but just knowing that it wasn't sex only, that there was an emotional affair going on there, that seemed to be what really was the dagger in Tessa's heart. And yet we at the audience know it wasn't like some deep emotional affair. It was kind of just a series of one-time just a series of bad judgments on Mariah's part. I was rooting for Tessa to forgive because I like the overall couple, but I also understand why Tessa would not forgive, and I wouldn't. I wouldn't have forgiven Tessa if I were in Mariah's shoes last year or the year before, and I wouldn't forgive Mariah if I were standing in Tessa's shoes now. All of the betrayals that have happened between them would have been enough to cause me to pull the plug, but it's a soap opera, and in a way, doesn't it sort of seem like, I don't know, they could make it go either way they wanted if they wanted to keep the couple around. Tessa could have softened just a little bit. But you know what? I guess all hope is not lost for those who are rooting for the reunion. Tessa did run off stage in tears, but it's possible they'll have another follow-up conversation, as Daisy says, hopefully next week. And maybe they will be able to patch it up, maybe not. Not sure. Gary says, I actually think Mariah is extremely sympathetic here. What's interesting is that Mariah is established as a completely devoted, loyal person. Absolute commitment to Tessa is a given. More intriguing than if Tessa had actually betrayed her, Mariah caved to her imagined insecurities and melted down over a situation that didn't even exist at all. I think Mariah was really coming to that conclusion this week too, Gary, because she said, I am my own worst enemy. And she did make efforts to fix it, and I applaud that. I just can't believe she did it publicly and at Tessa's work. I mean, the fact that Mariah not only lost her job, but she was Tessa's promoter. She also didn't inform Tessa about the fact that the company had been dissolved and that her career management company was no longer managing. There was a lot of shutting down. There was a lot of secrets. There was a lot of lie there that just was so unnecessary. But you're right, Gary, in that it would have been predictable probably if we just would have seen Mariah having an affair. But because Mariah is presented as this absolutely committed, loyal individual, it's interesting that they did show her, her personality as more just kind of crumbling and melting, and she imploded on herself. She did this to herself. I think it had to be that way. I don't think that Y&R could have shown Tessa betraying Mariah again and still had a bunch of support. I mean, that would have been one straw too many from one side of the relationship. But that's the thing. It's like, I mean, think about how many times Lily and Kane betrayed each other. Other soap couples, if you're around long enough, you're going to have plenty of time to betray each other. Nikki and Victor betrayed each other a million times. I mean, it's just... Yeah. I mean, all of the betrayal has always been on Tessa's end, and finally we get the betrayal from Mariah's end, and it was a doozy. Marianne V says, I actually like Lindsay. She is attentive to Mariah, as Tessa is not touring with her ex, and Mariah was suspicious. As Tessa is maybe out touring with her ex, and Mariah was suspicious and lonely. So now we have a triangle. Might be interesting. Well, Mary Ann, what do you like about Lindsay? She's attentive? She's attentive. Yes, she definitely does listen to Mariah, and she appeared to be supportive of Mariah. Would be a good quality. I guess I just don't have any sense of her personality whatsoever. I want to know who she is a little bit more before I think I could really get into a triangle, but I guess the jury's still out on whether or not that will happen. I have no idea. I've just assumed, like, the way that Y&R has like, given this couple, Mariah and Tessa, so many obstacles, I think that I've been predicting that, oh, this surely has to be the end of it for quite a while now, and it never is. So I guess you can never say never. Maybe they are going to build up this triangle. Switching gears here, Shakona says, I'm sorry, but I'm not feeling Ray giving Faith a lecture and making her do dishes. Stay in your lane, Ray. You're not even a step-parent. I'd be so upset with him if I were Faith. She is taking reproach really well. Yeah, because, you know, it's funny that Faith is rebelling against the school authorities, but she seemed to accept Ray's style of punishment very readily for being a little rebel. She picked and chose her battles. But yeah, I guess I just didn't have a problem with Ray doing a little bit of parenting. Maybe because Nick asked him to. Maybe that's why. Did anyone else dislike seeing Ray step in? Should Ray have deferred to Sharon and said, no, Nick, I don't think this is my place? Should he have just handed that over to Sharon or said, Nick, can you just deal with this when you get home? I'm not comfortable with it. Let me know if you have an opinion on that. Back to the conversation of Sharon's cancer that we started last week. Colleen says there's nothing about Sharon that says chemo. She has had the energy to make Faith a huge breakfast, all her favorites, while baking a frosted lemon layer cake for Victoria. Her hair is as lustrous as ever, and still no port. Women going through chemo are watching this show. Come on, Y&R. Well, Marianne responds to that and says, I think there are some days that Sharon is weak and has side effects from the chemo. I think the show wants to inspire and give hope to people with cancer. Might not always be realistic, but it's a great storyline, and I think they're doing a decent job, and Sharon is wonderful in her portrayal. Anna weighs in saying, I really think that they're only giving this storyline lip service at this point. It was a great platform for breast cancer awareness, but much like Nikki's MS, I believe they're just trying to use the circumstance to propel other storylines, such as Team Sharon. Yeah, maybe it's a little all of the above. Maybe there is more that could be done to show Sharon's physical signs of the disease, but I really do like Marianne's positive point that they're trying to let Sharon be inspiring. Man, I don't know. I'm not whipping up lemon cakes even on my best day. Whipping up all the favorites for breakfast. But, I mean, Sharon Case certainly is something to aspire to. You know, I think what they're doing, I think maybe Gary mentioned this at the website too, is they're really not showing us as much of the physical symptoms of Sharon's cancer, but they really are showing more of her emotional symptoms. I mean, they have put her front and center, and they have let her put out to other characters these little bits of wisdom and experience, and those are the things that I find inspirational. I have found the conversations that Sharon has had with her family and her friends and some of the people who aren't her friends. I've found that inspirational, as opposed you know, I probably to focus in on the what's that she's doing. It's kind of more what she's saying. Well, let's see here. Jamie was really enjoying Victoria and her process of evolution and through the week. Jamie says, I loved how Victoria said to Nikki, I'm going to need you, but don't treat me like I'm going to break. I do enjoy the realistic portrayal of healing and trauma and how there's so many different forms of trauma. Yes, Jamie, yes. I only worry that Victoria's going to get a little stuck in this. She certainly just feels sort of blah. So blah. And it is very relatable. It's just, you know, on a long-term basis, I wonder when they're going to have to give her just more story I'm probably being a little too hard on this storyline, but Laura also commenting on the 30-year-old mystery that Chelsea and Adam are trying so hard, too hard, to implicate Victor in. I don't know anything about AJ, Cliff, the barn accident, or the loan payment. What do these people even look like? How am I supposed to care if Victor offed one or all of them? You know, I feel like I should love this because I am such a fan of Hope, such a fan of the Hope's Farm days. I feel like this should be tailor-made for me. Maybe I'm just grumpy about other things, but I agree with you, Laura. As soon as I saw that this was a little nugget, it just, and it's loose. A lot of everything that's gone on with Victor and Adam is loose. There's just not a lot of good, strong reason for this current rivalry. It's pretty unbelievable that some of these dots are being connected now, and even when the dots do get connected, is it going to be that big of a deal? I mean, I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll end on this. This is the clever comment of the week, and it comes from Superplex, who says, while spending a trip down memory lane at his old homestead in Kansas, Adam meets up with an old flame named Alyssa. She has no trouble recognizing him and even exclaims when Connor pops into the room that he is the spitting image of his dad. Problem is that Adam had plastic surgery to transform his visage into a mirror image of Gabriel Bingham. A boom boom. Oh, Superplex. Now, that is the kind of razor-sharp wit and observation that is going to get us through this crisis. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna call it a day. But I really hope that you do go to yrchat.com if you are hearing this, if you are within the sound of my voice. Go to the website, let us know how you're doing, talk about Y&R from last week, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about the Y&Rs that are coming next week, although I am interested to know if that is what you guys really want, because I can kind of see both arguments, you know. I mean, Y&R is a great distraction, but sometimes, you know, a lot of people have other distractions and they don't want to actually miss the episodes, and it just becomes a little bit too much to keep up on. I think that's a really good poll question. So go there. Everybody, please stay safe and please stay positive. This too will pass. I absolutely believe that. And I hope to be back next week to talk about more Y&R. I will be back one way or the other. You can count on that. All right, everybody. I love you so much. Take care.